Can you give a gist about your first book, what the story was?
Okay, so I kind of like in retrospect, this happened way before uh the show Never Have I Ever had come out, but it's basically about a brown girl, but she is in love with a American in high school. And the show is not the show.
Mhm. The
the,
book.
the book is basically about a love story about a Tamil girl and an American falling in love, but he's secretly a spy.
The guy?
The guy is a spy, and she secretly this let me tell you, it's out of a while. It's like a crazy story. So she had like superpowers. She and her twin sisters had superpowers, and he was pretending to fall in love with her because he like they were best friends for a long time, but he was actually spying on he was a British spy. And he was trying to like take her superpowers or whatever, and they all like traveled to India too, and then it was a whole bunch of ideas, like all the things I wanted. Like I had so much like culture in it, like Indian culture in it, and then it was like a love story, and then there was also this like British spy, and there's a lot of things. And so after I wrote that, I was like, okay, this book is all over the place. I don't know what to do with it, but my friend, like, I remember her telling me, like, "You actually produced something, like, it wasn't just a thought, like, you just wasn't like, 'I'm gonna write a book,' like, you actually made something, and you should be proud of that, even though it may never be published, no one will ever read it, like, it's actually a tangible item that you can say that you can use for your next one."
Yeah, it's an
Yeah.
intellectual property.
Yeah.
The listening to you speak is amazing. One thing is because like someone who wants to start writing or someone who wants to
Mhm.
get into writing, like they can get a lot of insights, right? Like
Mhm.
someone who just went through the process,
Yeah.
just learned it, and they have one like a passion copy where they have all their intellectual dump there,
Mhm.
and then like they're getting ready for another book where they can use whatever they learned and produce something. So I want to pick your brain more on that.
Yeah.
So for me, like it helps me, and anything I understand is basically by relating it, right,
Mhm.
to something that I already know or something that already happened.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to understand book writing process with my screenplay writing process.
Yeah.
So when I get an idea of a one liner, I divide it into like three act structure, and then I give it three act structure. Then I follow the three act structure. Then I divide the three act structure into scenes. Like the first act is
Save the cat, basically.
exactly right,
Yes.
and then I go and figure out characters and everything. So can you in this way in detail elaborate like how do you get ready to write a book? Like can you summarize that your experience to me?
So I had like a wall where I had sticky notes of every single thing. Like these few chapters were gonna be leading up to the climax, or these few chapters were gonna be my resolution, and then this was like the midpoint. You know, those few in Save the Cat, it has like I never knew Save the Cat existed. I was so profound when I found that, oh, like there is actually a structure that most writers use, or most even screenplay
Yep.
movies use. Like that blew my mind because you could fit almost not everything. Some movies are the out of the box, but 90-80% of the movies fit into that. So when I found that, like I was like, I didn't even know that like at the beginning. So as I said, like a lot of my not studying, but a lot of my learning came from YouTube and things like that. And you slowly piece it together. And it was like, I would say the learning process was like almost 2 years. And then when I finally had an idea, like for my next book, the books that I actually wanted to be published, I like took a whole wall and I wrote down in sticky notes, like each single chapter, what was going to happen in this chapter, how many like what was the word count of the entire book, like
Are you serious?
mhm,
Word count.
the
Okay.
word count, the out like it's just like a whole outline. Like for writing, it's more planning than executing. Like planning is like, I mean, you do have to write, and with now ChatGPT, I'm not sure how that is, but if you want it in your own words, your own style, like you still have to write it. You can't just ChatGPT it, but yeah, I had like a 75,000 word count. Like that was what I was aiming for. And then you have to have the genre. Like you can't just write a book and say it's after it's written, you can't say it's this genre. You can do that, but you have to, like there's certain things that happen in each genre, like adult contemporary,
Mhm.
I didn't even know what that word meant, so I had to look up all these genres, and I was like, "Where does my book where does my idea fit in?
Mm.
Where do I want it to be? Like, what is my target audience?" So there's a lot of planning before
Awesome.
you write.
So
Yeah.
if I'm understanding, first you get the idea and
Mhm,
then you try to like in your head figure out chapters
mm.
and then see how the story flows through the chapters. Correct? In
Yes, and then there's also the characters.
okay.
So the characters, you don't want a like boring character, right? Like no one has ever in a TV show or anything, like you've never seen a character that was just like there.
Yeah.
They have either a character arc or their role is like important. So you have to weave in every single thing that happens. Like I would write what like in that chapter if there was going to be character development growth in that chapter for my main character or her side character or the villain, the antagonist. So I had to write all those things down and then like actually start writing.